Hello everyone and welcome to our latest Travel Weekly webcast. This is part of our Roadmap to Recovery series where we're looking at how the industry is recovering and what opportunities there are as we move forward. So today we're looking at solo travel, which has obviously seen huge growth over recent years, especially in the solo touring market. So I'm Laura French, I'm Deputy Features Editor for Travel Weekly, and I'm joined by Sarah Weetman, Head of Trade Sales for Just You, Sue Livsey, Senior Manager for Commercial at Cox & Kings, and Claire Brighton, Account Director for ATAS. So thank you all for joining me. Claire, perhaps we could kick off with you. Do you want to give some context around where solo touring was at before the pandemic? Obviously it has been booming, well, it was booming prior to that, so it'd be good to get a little bit more context and how solo touring specifically has been growing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a bit of a misconception in that solo holidays are quite niche, but I read some research recently that says actually around 17% of UK adults have actually taken a solo holiday. So that's a massive target market for agents to be involved in. The same research says that around 45% of those would be interested or have already taken an escorted tour or a venture holiday. So again, it's a massive target market for the agents to go after. From an ATAS point of view, our members report their split of solo holidays to be around anything from 25% to 60%, obviously not including our specialists, Just You, but that depends on the business, but it's still quite a high proportion of their business that's being taken up by that solo holidays, which is brilliant.
Well, yeah, and where are things now? Sarah, Just You, what's the current state of play and how has it changed in the past few months? I imagine there's been a slight knockback, but are you getting much interest in forward bookings and which destinations?
Yeah, sure. I think the industry's changed, hasn't it, or evolving anyway. But I'll give you some context, the sort of things that we've been doing during this time as well to keep engaged with our solo travellers, and that's been really important. It's important for any sector that you're in, but solo travellers, we know that some of them have been spending a lot of time at home at the moment, so dreaming of their next holiday. But we've been learning from them, listening to them. What do they want us to increase and include in our product? What's good for them, and how would they like us to evolve? And so everything that we're going to do moving forward, and has always been, the customer's at the heart of that decision, because for a solo traveller, it's all about the shared experience. It's really, really high on their agenda. So when we've spoken to them and surveyed them, the shared experience comes out as one of the most important reasons why they travel solo, but yet on a tour. And like I said, they've spent so much time at home over the last few months. We can see our web searches increasing. We can see where they're looking to where their next adventure is. And don't forget as well, solo travels for all ages. I mean, Just You is an open age brand, but we're seeing an increase in solo travel because the younger demographic are more adventurous and confident and starting to travel on their own. And it's only going to increase as we go on. But what hasn't changed with our customers is the resilience and their passion for their sense of adventure. They've really got resilience to this current pandemic that we're in. They want to travel. There's a hunger there as well. It's just where they want to go and when they want to travel. But I think one of the main things that's really key, and this is for any sector, is how we build confidence to our customers. And once people see people travelling again, that's only going to have a halo effect and hopefully increase confidence for travelling.
So obviously you've got both mainstream and solos only tours. So what trends are you seeing in both of those sectors, and are there any key trends standing out on the solo side?
So we conducted a survey amongst Cox & Kings clients to try and get feel for their attitudes towards travelling in these unusual circumstances, and trying to get a sort of real feel for the market. One of the questions we asked was, foreseeable future, who are you going to be travelling with? And our second most popular category of that was travelling by themselves. So most popular was couples, then travelling by yourself, ahead of families, travelling with friends. So I think, as Sarah's saying, it shows that the market is very, very robust. I think, solos travellers, I think it's a bit of a cliche to say they might have been sitting at home, in lockdown, planning their next journey or their next trip. But I think certainly there's the appetite there for travel and for reappraising their wish lists where they want to go to, but always with the idea of, you know, safety and responsible tour operators and reputable tour brands behind that.
Right, definitely. And you touched on the kind of key advantages to joining a solo tour, but what about in the current climate? Claire, maybe you could kind of build on what tips do you have for travel agents and maybe younger solo travelers as well, who might usually go it alone but now actually want the safety net of an operator. What kind of opportunities are there for agents?
I think the tips that I would use for agents, and actually I don't necessarily think in all ways it's different from selling a normal holiday. It's about asking your customers the right questions. So where do they want to go? What do they want to do? And that means you'll get them hopefully on the right tour with those like-minded people. So no one's going to feel like they're stuck with people that aren't similar to them. And that's all about issuing the right assurances to them, answering those questions clearly, but also making sure that they really trust your answers. So never answer a question if you really don't know the answer. It's much better to go away and find out what it is from one of the experts and come back and tell them, because then you'll really build trust with them. I think the other thing with solo travellers is they might not necessarily definitely go to a travel agent automatically. So I think really go out and look for solo travellers. So use your database, market in your local community, use those special interest groups. Usually I would recommend like small events and things like that, but obviously that is more challenging, but it doesn't mean we can't do it. So whereas you used to have maybe 10 people in store for an evening, maybe you can put some kind of Zoom call on for them with an expert that can answer their question. So yeah, it doesn't mean that they can have a glass of wine with you, unfortunately, but that can come in the future, and it still means that you can carefully answer their questions. One thing that I would say is that, and I've got quite a good example of this, is that don't treat solo customers with kind of a pitying expression, because they're choosing to travel solo. They're not sad about it. But my auntie actually went into a travel agency where she lives, and she wanted to book a solo holiday to Japan. So it would have been a nice booking for the agent. But when she went in there, she was met with a, "Oh, are you travelling alone?" Which obviously made her feel really bad. And actually, she's always travelled alone. She's very happy doing it. And it made her not book with that agent. But it made her feel bad about the holiday as well, which is really bad from an agent point of view, but probably not deliberate at all. I think it's just a change in mindset when you're speaking to those customers.
Yeah, and Sarah and Sue, do you see those misconceptions as well? And have you seen that change over the years, perhaps, or are they still myths? And how can agents dispel those?
I think there's, like Claire said, there's myths around solo travel that it's, feel sorry for somebody because they're traveling on their own. And actually, they're traveling with like-minded people because they've all got the same interests. So when they get away, they're going to be with people that are interested in the same culinary experiences or the attractions that they're going to visit. And also, it is not just for backpackers or for the more mature as well. It's completely the spread of ages, I think, through solo travel is incredible when you look at it. You know, you'll get your young backpackers that might want to go traveling, or not even backpackers for that reason, but then also people that want to experience maybe Venice or, like Claire said, Japan as well, as part of a group, and having the reassurance of the tour manager. And you're talking about tips of what we would give our trade partners at the moment in the current climate. One of the things that we're focusing on, I think there's a few elements to it, but one of the things that we're focusing on is the security of funds. I think that's becoming more prominent to any customer, whether they're solo or not, that their money is safe when they're booking a holiday. And at Just You, we operate a third-party independent trust fund. So we actually don't receive the money until the customer has departed. So that's something that perhaps wasn't a focus or as important to the customer. It wasn't always important, but as prominent perhaps as it is now. So that's, again, something we're educating our customers of. But it goes back to what I said at the beginning, and it's about the confidence to travel. And we believe working with our trade partners, they can help give solo customers the confidence to travel. It's driven by really consistent messaging that we might get from the government. It's also the airlines, and the aviation industry has a huge part to play, as nearly every tour we operate involves a flight. So the first challenge for a solo traveller or any traveller is the fact that they are going to get on a plane and go to the airport, and does that experience feel like? And then thirdly, we're bringing out our tour manager even more, because a tour manager now is more than ever so crucial to a tour, because they're there every step of the way. They're always going to be looking after you, and it just gives that little bit of reassurance to a solo traveller or any tour traveller really, that they have somebody there to go to if they ever need any help. So they're the 3 points that we'll be focusing on and over the coming months.
And Sue, what about at Cox and Kings? What are the key advantages of booking a solos only tour as opposed to one of the mainstream tours? And how can agents use that in the current climate as well?
I think the advantage is the small group sizes. I think that's becoming increasingly important to clients, particularly in the current environment where considerations exist around social distancing. So for our solos, group tours operate on a maximum of 18. Generally, the average is between 12 and 14. And as do our main group tours now as well. So I think size of group is really important to customers. I think flexibility is important, both in terms of making use of some of the early booking promises that are out at the moment in the market. So for example, Cox and Kings are operating a price policy whereby it's flexible booking policy. If you book by the 30th of September, then you can amend your travel dates or change your destinations up to 61 days before departure. So I think that flexibility is really key for all travellers, not just solo travellers. I think the other thing that is sort of key in terms of the solo market is that flexibility, that the key concern is, am I going to be with the group for the whole time? From solo travellers, they're independent as well. They want their free time to be able to go and do a little bit of independent exploration, maybe to add on a post-tour or a few nights pre the tour to do a little bit of exploring of the destination by themselves. So I think increased flexibility is really important, as well as looking at the flexibility of your booking conditions, your cancellation charges, and the promises that you can make.
Yeah, and sort of touching on that, what other protocols are you putting in place at the moment around maybe social distancing or those kind of elements related to the COVID crisis, and how can agents reassure clients that it is a safe way to travel? Sarah, just you.
Well, for us, we've all, I think every tour operator has always focused on the health and hygiene and well-being of the customers. Obviously, it's brought so much now to the forefront of everybody's minds. And the detail is about the group sizes as well, as Sue said. So for Just You, we detail every group size on our brochure page. But our customers, when we surveyed them, actually said they would be happy to travel in group sizes of around 20 to 25, and so some of our groups are that size, and some of them are smaller as well, but it's always tailored to the destination that you're visiting, and also obviously now the protocols that are introduced for those destinations as well. I think it's very hard at the moment for anybody to give exact detail on how a tour will operate right now, today, but every day we're getting a little bit more information to help us all as a sector to prepare as best we can. And right now, we're speaking to our hoteliers. We operate in over 60 different countries, so to go through every protocol that we're pulling together would be quite lengthy. But we are finalising our reassurance guarantee at the moment, and that should be out in the next week for our customers, because again, it's about offering the flexibility, building confidence, and the reassurance. But it should include it will include everything that you would expect. Across hygiene and well-being, and obviously, like every operator at the moment, the well-being is really of the customer is really at the heart of every decision that we make. And I think the other thing that you'll find a lot of tour operators are doing is increasing their training to the tour managers as well. You know, the tour managers are there and they've been trained to deal with every eventuality that may come up, but now it's time to increase the training because there's new guidelines in place. So we're always preparing them for what travel is going to look like when we start operating tours, which we all hope will be later this year.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. And Claire, what are you seeing across the board for ATAS members? What kind of what protocols are being put in place?
So I think a lot of our members were coming out with many different statements. So what ATAS tried to do was kind of take those statements, work with members collaboratively, and actually issue a little bit of a generic statement across all of our members to help agents give basics to their customers until exact measures are brought out. So the key bits of that statement were that all of our ATAS members are using hotels that follow strict health and safety guidelines. As Sarah said, the tour leaders are receiving extra training, reduced touch points, so less luggage handling, things like that. And a really key one, heightened cleaning of vehicles, because obviously that is concerning for people because they're going to be on a vehicle with X number of people, depending on who you're travelling with. But I think everyone said that the cleaning of the vehicles will be increased, but also antibacterial will be available as you get on and off the bus and things like on the coach and things like that. So all those kind of things we're just pulling into an FAQ or fact sheet document for agents, so that as a kind of top line they're able to see what those measures are. And then we also have put a hub onto the ATAS site that will let all the agents see what all of our members are doing. So if they are looking at a Just You or a Cox and Kings tour, they can see what those measures are specifically that have been brought out already.
And moving forward, looking at the longer term, how do you see things progressing? Do you think this could change the face of solo travel and touring more generally for good, or do you think this is going to be more of a short-term thing? Sue, if we start with you, how are you seeing things unrolling?
I think the appetite for solo travel is still very much there. I think I think people will look at their wish lists and maybe refine where they want to go and when they want to go on the basis of countries opening up. I think considerations like protocols will become far more important. As Sarah was saying, a lot of the destinations at the moment are still in a state of flux and looking at local and government regulations about what's going to become mandatory. From our point of view, we have given good practice guidelines out to our ground handlers and hotels with the minimum standards that we would expect. But we'll always be mindful to what the local authorities say in each particular destination. In terms of, I certainly don't see it as a market that is not going to continue growing. I think the desire to pursue individual interests, whether that is wildlife, culture, wellness, is very much there. And going back on something you said earlier about misconceptions, probably one of the biggest misconceptions is that solo travellers are single. They're generally the people who may or may not have a partner, but have different interests to them, different interests to their friends, different budgets, and they're not going to be put off seeing a destination just because their partner, their friends don't want to travel with them. And I think that will very much continue. Certainly over the past few weeks, we've had probably about 25% of our bookings have been through solo travellers, both on our solos tours and on our main group tours, where we've launched the initiative of having the first 3 places at no single supplement across a variety of group departure dates. So at the moment we've sort of fed into the market destinations in Africa, Europe, the Far East and Middle East, and we'll be following up with Latin America and India, covering at least 25 different countries. So I think my advice for travel agents would be, look what's on the market. There are some really good flexible policies out there. There are some really good initiatives for solo travellers as well, because they seem to be, very robust in this market and the desire to travel, and make the most of those while they exist on the market.
Definitely, and I think now's a great time because perhaps someone might want to travel but their partner or their friends don't because they're a bit concerned about the situation, and then they might book on a solo tour. So I guess there's more opportunities in some ways than ever, and if someone's been isolating for months on end on their own, they might actually be desperate to go out and meet some new people and travel as part of a group. So hopefully there's plenty of opportunity out there. And just to end on a slightly more light-hearted note, where are you all desperate to get back to? I know that I can't wait to just travel again. So Claire, have you got anywhere that's next on your list?
Same, I can't wait to travel, get on a plane again, to be fair, but I think it would be a toss up now for me between we were planning to do Vietnam and Cambodia this year, so unfortunately we're not going to be doing that this year, but hopefully that will be next year. And then India is always on my bucket list, so there is good, they're both going to remain on the list, certainly.
Sarah, what about you? Whether solo or with somebody else, where are you planning?
Well, a destination that I'm eager to get to at the moment is the hairdressers. Having a Leicester hairdresser is helping the situation. But all joking aside, actually, I think the world is just our oyster right now, and there's so many places on my wish list that I'd love to go to. I just can't wait to get back on a plane and travel and be in the sunshine with some good friends. Laughing, eating the local food, and just feeling that relaxation of being in a different country and absorbing that culture. You can put me anywhere right now. That's what I want. I'm keen to get back to it.
Hairdressers included. That'll do. And Sue, what about you?
So I've already booked to go to Greece in September, so I'm desperate to go. And then in terms of wish list, top of that would be Jordan. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I can get there October, November time. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Me too, that's high on my list as well. So many places. Fingers crossed things start to recover soon. All right, so thank you so much for joining me. That was really useful. I think there are plenty of opportunities for agents. It's really useful to get your tips and things. So thank you all.